Well, I know I'm not alone in my enthusiasm for the Aliens franchise. I think I should throw out the caveat that sneaking into the movie theater to see the film at the age of 12 was one of the most memorable and influential cinematic experiences of my life. The film was just that perfect blend of action, of horror, and of this grounded militaristic sci-fi. And the influence on video games is so pervasive, it's kind of impossible to think of the medium in a world that never had James Cameron's masterpiece. So it's with this in mind that Aliens Colonial Marines, a proper sequel to the seminal film, is arriving in a pretty interesting context and one that is heavy with expectation. We have the motion tracker, dim lighting, Hadley's Hope, and this. But what we don't have is a very good game.
I'm gonna throw up.
Aliens Colonial Marines follows the rescue mission of intergalactic military hardasses as they set out to save the crew of the Sulaco from the film, wholly unaware that no one has survived on the planet and that the xenomorph threat is lying in wait for human incubators. Starting on the Sulaco, which has curiously found its way back into orbit over the ill-fated LV-426,
we don't know how that boat got back here.
The contingent of Marines jump from frying pan to fire as they find their way to the planet, face off with creatures and the corporate army of Weyland-Yutani with only desperate hopes of getting home. This all sounds like the perfect setup for a sequel, but it doesn't translate to a game, or at least this game. You get fun references like finding Bishop's bottom half.
Which half?
But receive none of the dramatic tension or character development the story implies. A character gestating an alien doesn't elicit your concern.
Is that the thing that was on your face when you woke up?
The desire to save all the surviving Marines sounds more pathological than noble, and the human enemy remains as faceless as the aliens, but far less interesting. It's frustrating because you can tell the game's immense respect for James Cameron's film. It's there in the dialogue, in the characters who are hard on the outside and slowly are breaking down and becoming emotionally vulnerable under the pressure. But it's all a bunch of plot points we're supposed to infer as drama. It's like kabuki sci-fi. What could overcome the narrative deficiencies is the gameplay, but it falls painfully flat. Once again, on the surface, everything is there. Low lighting, the sounds, the icky presence of another life form, but there's nothing special about it. Outside of your initial encounters with the aliens, the game is devoid of tension and spectacle, the cornerstones of what made the movie such a cultural phenomenon. Repeatedly, the game offered a setting that I thought would rescue it from its paint-by-numbers design, like landing on LV-427 and seeing the science lab at Hadley's Hope, but it quickly relinquishes the potential in favor of one of the most rudimentary shooters in recent memory. The level design is rigid, the artificial intelligence, both human and alien, is predictable, and efforts to break things up with unique challenges like armored APCs and blind aliens who you must sneak past reek of desperation to enliven the proceedings. The game is designed for replayable levels and upgradable gear as you earn experience, but with the core game so lacking, it only highlights the game it could have been. Cooperative play is pretty much the single-player game, but with too many people, all trying to navigate narrow hallways. Even the computer allies from the solo game are still there, and it doesn't increase the enemy count, although it appeared that everything took more bullets to go down. In fact, the entire affair felt so lopsided that it nearly elicited my sympathy for the aliens who don't stand a chance. Making the experience all the more disheartening is how unattractive the game is. The game is at least half a decade in the making, and despite an interesting lighting design, it shows. Characters are unattractive, animations are staccato and inelegant, which does everything to undermine the nimble and slithering horror of the aliens. Competitive multiplayer is equally promising in concept in having such distinct combatants, but it results in a hot mess. Sluggish movements for the Marines and painfully awkward controls for the aliens never let the potential for the multiplayer options come alive. It's a shame because Escape, a Left 4 Dead-like objective-driven game mode, could have been a hallmark for Colonial Marines, but is yet another opportunity hampered by technology and design. That's the crux for Aliens Colonial Marines. You can see all the good ideas and intentions, but they're lost in this haphazard game. It only makes me pine for what it could have been. I actually almost wish it was worse so I could just abandon any hope of this license getting its due. But what I got was frustration and heartbreak. A 2 out of 5. Well, there you have it. Man, I wanted this one to be good. If you want to see some other games that have gotten better reviews, there are so many coming out right now, you should check them out. They're all around you, and you should subscribe at youtube.com/rev3games. And while you're at it, put a comment below. I love them.